Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes Veritas podcast. I'm your host, Tim Bass, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Erinn Montoya, great friend of mine, more like a sister than a friend, to be honest. And she is recently, I guess, solidified, because she's been doing this a long time, almost 6 or 7 years now, herself as a confidence coach, and started her own company as Beacon Confidence Coaching. And so I thought that this was a very unique opportunity to bring somebody in who's in the process of solidifying themselves as a business, solidifying themselves as an expert, and edifying themselves through the process, not only to get her voice out there, get people connected with you. A lot of you know me as a confidence, self-respect coach, but we have very different approaches, very different pathways that we took to get here. And so I felt that it would be a great opportunity for our audience to see what that process looks like and have her share kind of that journey. So Erinn, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So just real quick, some admin stuff. Sovereign Summit's coming up in June. That's going to be a 3-day action-packed weekend where we're going to kind of do everything we possibly can to get you to that next level, make you live that sovereign life, and develop your confidence and fulfillment in your life. So if you know anybody, or if you yourself would like to see yourself really expand in 2023, highly recommend you guys join us out in Texas. Again, that's going to be in June, I believe the 22nd, and registration's open now. So really hope to see you guys out there. And other than that, I know this is going to air after, but Erinn and I and a number of people from my team will be having our first public meetup of 2023 near Erinn this Saturday. So if again, this is probably going to air after because I probably won't load it, but if you missed that one, we're going to do one every month moving forward through the year. So highly recommend keeping an eye out, joining the mailing list, subscribe to the YouTube, make sure that you're getting all the information when we release it. So without further ado, I want to jump into introducing Erinn. So Erinn, you and we have a very, like I said, you're more like a sister to me than a friend. You were there through my divorce. You were there for me when I needed, a support system. Everything had kind of fallen apart for me. And I've always been very grateful and appreciative of you and your husband being there for me. Obviously, Tony's my best friend, so he's very important as a person in my life in general. But to have you as a bonus sister as a result that came out of that, I'm just very appreciative of that. And so I've got to watch you kind of bloom and blossom over that time frame. And I kind of want to hear your side of how you took that journey and got to a point where you felt, well, one where you realized your power, because I know that was a struggle for you in the beginning, becoming that lighthouse, becoming that beacon, hence the name Beacon Confidence Coaching. And two, kind of the steps you took to start investing in yourself and developing that person that you are today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love you. I'm really happy to be here, and it's honestly such an honor. And I do have to say, like, I know this is gonna like embarrass the shit out of you, but I always have to say, like, you are a huge part of like the reason I'm here today and what I'm doing. Like, you have helped me in so many ways, and I know we've talked about that, and I thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not the person I was like 15 years ago. I used to be really insecure. Grew up with kind of a really rough childhood, and kind of just felt like I was like wandering through the dark forest for many, many years up until I really met my husband, to be honest with you. And I met him at a young age, thank God. And he helped me in a lot of ways and helped me build a lot of my confidence. And, it was a struggle for me. And I don't know where I would be if I had never met my husband, because like I said, like he really was kind of almost like my lighthouse and like my torch and my anchor, as like what you call him, like kind of kept me grounded. And I would say like what really got me on the journey of like self-discovery and my own personal development and like really like molding the person I am today, surprisingly, is I got into network marketing. And it gets a bad rap. It's not for me. I'm no longer in that industry anymore. And I got into it when my oldest was born. She was like 5 months old. And when I got into it, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, it wasn't because of the products or like the business or anything like that. Like it really was for the community and for the leadership that I was shown. And then I end up actually being able to like build a successful business and a team. And that's really where I kind of got my feet wet with like leadership and coaching people, and got a taste for personal development and start taking courses and rubbing elbows with like a lot of, people in the industry and not in the industry as well. So that's kind of like where I got my like I say, like, yeah, my feet wet. And I did that for about 4.5 years. And I moved around a couple different companies, but like the one thing that I noticed is that I brought a lot of people with me from different companies, and I was able to help mainly women. That was like my main focus because obviously I'm a woman and I can relate to them, and I'm a mom, and helping them realize like the power that they have. Because I think a lot of people, when they get into like especially network marketing, you're kind of like, I don't know, you don't really know why you're joining. You're like, oh, I want to start a business, or I want to make money. For me, it wasn't about the money. Sure, yeah, I mean, like money's great, but for me it was like I really wanted to help people. And prior to being in the network marketing business, I was a hairstylist, and I'm still a makeup artist. So, you know, helping people has always been like my driving force. And I have always had a calling. And I think once I realized that, like, well, network marketing really isn't for me, but I really like helping women gain or access their confidence and, become the beacons in their life. Once I realized like that was like my true calling, and obviously, you were a big part of that. Like you were the one that like kind of you gave me the analogy, like you need like you're a beacon. And once I realized that, I was like, shit, you're right. Like I need to do this, and I need to help people. And I finally just I took the plunge, and here I am. And I'm so grateful that I'm finally like living my purpose. And it's awesome. I love doing what I do. And it's kind of crazy to call it this is like what I do for a living now, like getting to help people.
Yeah. And you've always been very service centric, right? There was
Yeah.
always this like, there are people that do things, and I think I'm not trying to devalue or diminish anybody, but there are people that do things purely for the material side of things, right?
Yeah.
They want either the validation personally and egotistically, or they want the outcome. And where you and I have always clicked very, very well, and your husband as well, is like we're very service oriented. All of us just serve without expectation. We, this might sound a little bit, self-aggrandizing, and I apologize, but that I mean it in the form of this relationship. The reason the three of us really clicked and why we did well as roommates, because I was a roommate with you guys for close to 6 months after my divorce,
Yeah.
and we clicked very well because it was just serving, right? You guys just had a space where you wanted to serve me in my time of need, and because I was there, I just wanted to serve you guys, and so there was this model where nobody was taken advantage of, everybody was just being served, and that permeates through your businesses, your MLMs, and your hairstyle business, your makeup business. Like it's just a service thing for you. And I've always seen that in you, and that wiring. And the biggest hurdle that Tony and myself, Tony being your husband, for those that don't know, and myself have always struggled with, is you seeing your own strengths, you seeing your own capacity to serve. And so there's a couple things that I want to unpack in your journey a little bit, because you touched on them and then you just kind of moved past them, and I want to unpack that because I think it's really important for other people to understand this. Now, when I met you, I hated the MLM business you were in. I felt
Yeah.
that it was snake oils and all this stuff, right? But I
Yeah.
loved you. And so there were these contention points, right? I think a lot of people think that to be supportive, you need to just go with the flow. And there were points where I was like, yeah, Erinn, I will put my money where my mouth is. I'll spend the money to help you out and support you. But just know I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about it from my logical and, my background. And the thing that I want to bring into light here is that, one, I was willing and loved you enough to do that for you. I
Yeah.
would not lie to you. But two, and this is more important, you were willing to listen even though you were pissed at me. Because you
Yeah.
were. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times we were on the back porch and we were arguing and we were going at it, and you were so frustrated with me because you're like, you're such a pretentious fuck. But at the end of it, you were like, but yeah, that makes sense. And then
Yeah.
you went and found your own truth. It wasn't like, oh, Tim's a pretentious fuck, I'm not listening to any of it. But it also wasn't like, oh, I'm stupid, I just don't understand. You were like, no, I know where I stand, I know what I believe, I see what he believes, let's merge those together and find my own way. And that's where you developed a high level of respect from me, because it was like, I could have easily written you off and be like, another network marketer person, like
Yeah.
whatever. But it was your intentionality to find the best for you that really, really made you shine, in my opinion. And I think that at the time, for me, what really stands out, and the piece that I feel like you just kind of glossed over, is why you did it. Because when I met you, yes, you were looking for community. Yes, you were looking for something, but there was this one specific mechanism that you held on to above all else, and that was paying your husband back. You had so much gratitude for his patience and being that anchor and supporting you financially and being there for your daughter. And you said it constantly. You just wait, I'm going to retire you. You just wait, I'm going to do this thing. And in his mind, I'm sure he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, do your thing, babe. But at the same time, it created a power play for you as a person, because it was no longer, oh, I'm going to do this for a community and I'm just going to kind of like hang out and do this thing and have a good time. It became very deliberate for you.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do what I want for him and pay him back in my way and show him how much I appreciate and love him in my way, then I need to read the books and get involved and take it seriously and do the business and not just play, not just go to the conferences and kumbaya, rah, rah, get on the calls and say everybody's happy-go-lucky. You went all in, and I really think it was from that why. Can you speak to how that came to be? Like how that piece really got into your mind?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, my husband is my everything, and I know that's may sound really cliche, but like he is my soulmate, he is my anchor, and he provides for us, and he's done so much for me. I mean, I he he's not like he allowed me, but the fact that I like, I did these MLMs, and he's like, he supported me no matter what because he believed in me. And he had done so much for me, up till like just well in life in general, that I want so badly to, I guess, yeah, like pay it forward, because he saved me. I mean, I was like a shell of a human when he met me. I don't even know, honestly, like I still am like, why the fuck did he stay with me? Because I was like crazy, super insecure, and he just supported me through everything I did. I went to massage therapy school for 6 months. That didn't work out. I worked at multiple jobs, and all while he's busting his ass in the company that he works for, and he just supported me no matter what. So when I found network marketing, I I looked at it like, okay, like I see people that are successful, and like I'm like, I can fucking do that. If I put my mind, like if I set my mind on something, I'm like, I can do that. And I poured my heart and soul into it, into the company, and I learned a lot about myself along the way, and ended up not being for me. um but what I realize now, like fast forward, that everything that I went through and everything I learned was to get me to where I'm at today. And that wasn't the journey for me, like, or it was part of my journey, but wasn't for me. Now I'm doing something where, just as like what you're doing with Here's Veritas, is that like we're fucking doing it. And like now I feel like, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm going places. I'm gonna be able to like kind of pay him back and kind of almost like match his level, because he, like I said, he's always been my anchor, my beacon, my lighthouse. And I've never just wanted to just be like, and this is no offense to any like stay-at-home moms, because like I'm still a stay-at-home mom, but like I never wanted to just be like a stay-at-home mom or like just a housewife. I always wanted to be so much more than that, and I wanted to be able to match my husband's level of not only income, but just what I bring to the table in the relationship. I wanted to be the yin to his yang, and we are. Um, so my why is like is him. Like he's my why. He's my everything, you know, and my and our girls and this our life in general, like what we're building. Like I truly believe that everything that we talk about and our dreams and our goals are going to happen, and we're going to help, you know, change a lot of people's lives. And I'm really excited to finally feel like, okay, I'm finally doing it. Like I finally feel like I'm in alignment with my like higher self. You know, I'm finally doing it. Whereas for so long I struggled, because and you watched me struggle. Fuck. I mean, like I mean, I'd be like crying, or you and I would get in a fight because you'd be like so frustrated with me because I'd be like blinded to like whatever, like, you know, I was being so like told, and I was always being held back. And once I finally was just like, fuck this, I'm out, like I'm gonna do me, like that's when like things just started kind of falling in place for me. Um
And
so
I think
yeah.
I think I want to unpack a little bit more in that statement, because like you said something that very much is, it's a hurdle for women, especially in today's era where it's like boss babe culture and independent women. I've had Ciara on the call on the podcast before, and she's talked
Yeah.
about it. You know, she's a very strong independent person, but she also understands the necessity of that pillar, right? And language gets things a little bit skewed. Like you said, he allowed you, right, and a better to go and explore, right? But the better language is he afforded you that opportunity because he didn't diminish you. He didn't tell you you're wasting time or space. He didn't tell you that this is waste of money. He didn't tell you you're lazy or useless or whatever, which some men do, really negative men do. But instead, he just sat as a strong, silent pillar, and not even a silent, like a cheerleader almost, to be like, listen, I got this. And this is where I believe masculine energy really shines, is like, I will persevere. I will sacrifice myself on the, on the pedestal of our relationship and partnership, and I will deliver everything I possibly can so that you can go and just play, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see it as play, right? You saw it as like, I'm going to go in and better myself. But in his mind, he's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you take up underwater basket weaving or fucking, MLM or whatever. I don't have to agree with it. You just have to feel confident that I got this over here so that you can feel safe and stable enough to go and play without feeling guilty or ashamed or anything like that. And I think that gets lost in a lot of the current narrative around traditional archetypal relationship models. And beyond that, to your point, it's nothing. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom and that's all you really strive for, and that fulfills you, that's what matters. It's what fulfills you. For you, you needed more. You personally, you're like, I could do that. I'm good at that. I'm a decent mom. I'm a decent stay-at-home mom, but I need more. I want more, right? I'm that way. And I've talked about this story before. Your husband is an amazing human being, and he is somebody that I look up to, a leader in my mind. He comports himself in a very calm demeanor, but also very powerful person. And so I look to him a lot as, I mean, he's my best friend for a reason. It's not because I'm just, we go out and we drink and have a good time. We talk about everything. And one of the things that I struggled with, and he was actually the one that helped me here, was he was good with his daughters, the 9 to 5, the daughters, and that's his life. And the thing is, he has always wanted to be a father. And that has been his goal in life. And for me, I've always wanted more. So when you guys had your second daughter, and I finally came through during COVID and got to see my niece again for the first time, and I saw him and he had this like complete fulfillment, contentment, like golden aura of like, I'm good, man. This is the best thing ever. And I told him this after. I was like, dude, like, I started to beat myself up and went down a really dark path because I realized that's not enough for me. Me having children is not enough. I have to do something great. Like, that is just how I'm wired. And so to put this full circle to what you said, like, if you're a person who is content with what you're content with, it doesn't matter if it's big, small, grander, whatever, right? Like, whatever you're content with, the goal is contentment. It is not comparative contentment. It is just contentment. And so I know how I'm wired. You know how you're wired. This isn't a call to anybody to be like, oh, if you're a stay-at-home mom, you need to be doing more. Or if you're a stay-at-home dad or you're a dad and that's what fulfills you, you need to be doing more. I may not see it. I may not agree with it. I may not be able to get that way or get to that level of contentment for you. But if that's what works for you, own it.
Yeah.
Right? Own it. Like there's no reason to feel the pull to go somewhere else if that's all you care about. Why would you destroy that peace by going outside of what you don't even need or want?
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to address that for the people on the call.
Well, when I first met my husband, you know, I was 19 years old. So I was a baby, basically fresh out of high school. Just got out of a really bad relationship. And, you know, like I mentioned, so like I had a rough childhood. And you know, we've talked about this. I don't regret anything that's ever happened to me because it's maybe the person that I am today. Um, when I first met him, I literally remember saying this to him, and I was like, I just want to be comfortable. Like, I want to be safe. I want to, you know, I want to find comfort, and I don't want to have to struggle. And with that, I think comes like the fight almost, if you will. Like, I want to be comfortable, yes, but I also want to be better than I was yesterday. You know, I never want to arrive. And my husband's this exact same way. Like, yes, he's comfortable where he's at. He's, you know, I mean, he is and he isn't. Like, he's definitely, like, he has goals. It's like he's very much, you know, like he wants to keep going places and there's lots of things he wants to do. But for me, it's like you know, I'm a dreamer. You're a dreamer. We're dreamers, and I think that's why you and I are so close, because we have a lot of the same thought processes about things. And yeah, I think it's like I'm finally, like, I found comfort in being with him and building the life that we did. But also, it's not to say like it wasn't good enough, but I want more. Like, I want more. I want to provide more. I want to be more. I want to do more, not just for like myself, but for the people in my life and, like, I guess humanity, you know. And I didn't know what that looked like. I just knew I was meant for so much more. And again, like, being a mom is like the hardest fucking thing I've ever had to do. But with that being said, I know I'm capable of like so much more. I know I'm capable of being the best for my daughters, you know, and for my husband and for myself, obviously. Um, but yeah, I never want to arrive. Like, I want to keep going. I want to keep bettering myself, and whatever that looks like. And you know, I'm just like, I'm not afraid to push like the boundaries anymore. You know what I mean?
I think it comes from that comfort, right?
Yeah.
I think in that your definition of comfort has changed.
Yeah.
So, you know, Ed Milet always likes to say blissfully dissatisfied, right? Like, I'm happy
Yeah.
where I'm at, but I'm never happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
And it's not that I take it for granted. It's just that I know I'm capable of more. I know I can push for more. And to your and Tony's credit as a unit, what you've done, and I really want this for everybody. And I've talked about you guys being kind of like that very pedestal relationship, because you guys have an amazing, loving, romantic relationship that just is very playful. And I'm honored to be a part of that in as a friend capacity. And so the thing that happens that is really great to watch is that you went to him and said, I need comfort. He's like, yeah, I am the comfort.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else that becomes uncomfortable, everything else that becomes a struggle, everything else that becomes a fight isn't, because you always just return there and you're like, but my comfort is here. And so as long as that's there, all this other shit, this chaos, it's nothing, because I always have a safe harbor to return to. And then what that does is if you're constantly in that comfort zone, right, in that safe harbor, you start to get bored and you start to like wonder if, like, is this all I'm capable of, right? Because you're not testing yourself. But you know you can always return there. So you venture out to sea, right? And you're like, let's go challenge the open ocean and see if we can explore and do these things, because you know you can always come back.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, what I found, especially in confidence coaching, and you could probably speak to this as well, is like they don't have the safe harbor. So everything is chaos. So when they say comfort, they think financial, they think mental, they think emotional, they think they attach it to a person, right? Which sometimes is the case. Like in your guys' case, there was very much a very ubiquitous relationship set up for that comfort, but it isn't always the case. And people want universality, right? What's my comfort? It's when I hit this point, right? And then it becomes this moving target. But what they really want is the safe harbor. So they can go chase all the other stuff, the dreams, the goals, the cars, the whatever, but they want to be able to come back here and feel stable. And part of confidence that you've developed is realizing that you are the safe harbor.
Yeah.
You fail, you're going to get back up. If you make a mistake, you'll correct it. You're going to constantly be learning. You're going to constantly find yourself in a new level. And when you couple that personal safe harbor where you're good with yourself, you can sit with yourself, you can sit in the silence, you're not sitting there tail spinning, beating yourself up. And then you couple that with somebody who's also a safe harbor. Now you're double safe. Now you don't have to worry about anything. And you just go out and you're just authentic, and you don't, because you can always come back to whether it's your safe harbor or them as a safe harbor collective. That's what I feel like you guys have developed. And I think it's very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely feed off each other. Like we are the yin to the yang. And I joke, but I'm like almost like halfway serious. I'm like, we need to write like a freaking a book. I don't even know what that would entail, but it's just like, you know,
Putting words on a page, Erinn.
huh?
Putting words on a page. That's what it would entail.
I know, but it's just like I'm like, what would I just we have a lot of friends. We have a a lot of people in our life. A lot of people come and go, and we've been told that our relationship is, I guess, unique in a sense. And the only thing I can think of is that we both have a lot of respect for each other, and we both take responsibility for our own actions. And at the end of the day, like, we're a team. And we are each other's biggest cheerleaders, and we just want like what's best for each other. And like we try and really take like the ego out of like our relationship, to be honest with you, which is it's definitely
Right,
like
so you just named 5 chapters, books
I
written,
know,
ready to
right?
go.
I know. I say, I've been telling him, like, we need to write a book, and like I'm gonna be starting my podcast soon. And I'm like, I almost like want to have a separate one with him. I feel like we, not that we know it all, but like we are constantly the people that people like that we are the couple that people come to us for advice. And I don't know, I love that. I love like being able to be that for other people, and being the beacon and like the lighthouse for others, because it feels really good to be able to, like, we've overcome so much. Like, that's the thing, is like, I didn't we both did not just wake up one day. I mean, we just celebrated being together for 15 years together. And we are, like I said in the very beginning of the podcast, like, we are not the same people that we were 15 years ago. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. But one thing that I notice about us is that we are constantly trying to evolve and, become like a better version for ourselves and for each other, for our family, for our friends. And I mean, I don't know. It's just it's a crazy relationship. Like I sometimes like feel like almost that we are, I can't believe I'm gonna say this on a podcast, but I feel kind of like we're like alone sometimes in our relationship, like, because we haven't really met anyone else like us. But I think like the biggest thing is that we're very chill about things. We don't try and like put so much pressure on each other in our relationship. Like, we allow it to naturally evolve. And if like we, something happens, like, we communicate. And for me, in order to be the person that I am within like my business and coaching everything, like I have to have that, like, I like my anchor. I have to have that, and like he is definitely someone who helps me navigate on how to be like a better version of myself, and vice versa. Like, we're both there for each other. And
I think something that you mentioned that is very unique to the two of you, just third party looking in, is there is a constant curiosity to understand. And I think that that's oftentimes missing, right? Like when something goes awry or you don't agree or you misunderstand, it isn't the blame game. Like you said, you take full responsibility. Instead, it's a help me understand. And then
Yeah.
there's an actual listening mechanism that you both have that is very unique because generally speaking, there's more of a, and I think this goes back to what we said earlier on the podcast where it's like we want to serve, right? So that service mindset coupled with truly caring about this person and wanting to understand, it's hard to get the ego side in where it's
Yeah.
like, well, F you, I'm right, you're wrong, you're the combatant, I'm winning, you're losing, like, because you want to serve them to make it better. So that leads you to be curious because you're already naturally curious. The two of you are very curious people. I mean, sometimes I think we should go back to the idea of the three of us starting the podcast because we talk about so many things that most people would just be like, how did they go from that topic to this topic to that topic? And it's
We
just
have really crazy conversations. Like honestly, we probably should because, and not to toot our own horn, but I mean, like, I sometimes like I'll take a step back, like while you and Tony are still talking, I'm like, wow, we're really fucking having this conversation right now. Like this is insane. Like this
yeah.
is, you know, but
Yeah, I mean, to give you guys that are listening that don't know us an idea of what this is like, think about sitting in a room with people who are in any given moment talking about relationship, talking about parenting, family, life, business, sex, fantasies, video games, quantum mechanics as it relates to business as it relates to quantum mechanics. I mean, it's just like that for hours upon hours. And the whole time, it's just this cacophony of laughter and just pure enjoyment and elation because all three of us are just so curious about unpacking the Rubik's Cube or whatever the hell we're talking about. And, you know, I say that because I really think that that might be, and again, you can put this as a chapter, I'll do the forward on your guys' book, but I think curiosity is part of it, right? Like, I think for you two, knowing you very intimately as people individually, like, you're just so curious. And that curiosity leads to that evolution. And there's never a moment where either of you are like, I'm good here.
well, that's why I always say like I'm never gonna arrive. Like you should never feel like you've arrived. Like you have to constantly be curious and nurturing your curiosity and moving forward. I mean, if you feel like you've arrived, I'm telling you right now, you fucking haven't.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going. Like you're never gonna know it all. You're never going to be the best version of yourself. Like the best version of yourself is right before you die.
I would take it a step further and say, if you think you've arrived, then you're probably getting ready for a huge disappointment somewhere soon.
Yeah, you're about ready to have a fucking awakening.
Yeah, because in any whether it's a client relationship or my own life, anytime somebody believes, myself included, that hey, I know it all or I know I'm good here, there's a massive crash because what ends up happening is once you lose that curiosity and you want to evolve and you want to keep growing or whatever, then you become stalwart. You're trying to hold on to something that's changing, and eventually it's going to get ripped out of your hands, and you're going to be like, I thought I had it.
Yeah.
Well, nobody has it. Life is a
No.
game you can only play. You can't win. Like that's how I look at it. The same way that you look at it, you're never going to arrive, right? Like if you think you got it figured out, give it a week, give it a couple hours, give it a couple days, and you're going to have some massive disappointment come your way because it's just part of life.
Well, that's just that's the universe's way of just being like, all right, next step.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard it. I don't know where I heard it, but there was an interview or something that I watched, and they were talking to somebody about with their therapist, and they were saying, I just wish I could control the highs and the lows better. Because my highs are way too high and my lows are too low. And the reason this resonates with me is because I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder a few years ago, and that's what they were telling me. Your highs are too high, your lows are too low. You need to control it with medication. And I was like, all right, I didn't know any better. So I was like, yeah, let's put fucking a bunch of crazy meds in my body. And I did that and it made it better for a moment. And then it got immensely worse.
Yeah.
Anxiety went through the roof. My PTSD came back. My stressors came back. because what it was doing is it was trying to condense me as an emotional spectrum into a
Yeah.
ball, and it just didn't work. And
Yeah.
what this therapist told this person is like, if you think about life as a heart monitor, ups and downs, ups and downs. And if you were in control of controlling those ups and downs, you would put it right in the middle. Well, on a heart monitor, that's flatlining, that's death.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to make your highs and lows middle, you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Instead, get better at riding the highs and expecting the lows and then getting back up to the highs, because that's life. And I was like, that's such a beautiful way to describe that, because it's so absolutely true. And I think that that's what confident people, and I know this is something you teach very much, is like that radical responsibility, right?
Yeah.
You own that space, and so you can ride it with so much more ease than trying to hold on to it and keep it in the space, because that's where disappointment happens, because you're going to lose grip. You're going to lose it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I coach on this a lot about my, like, I guess like my three, I always like call it the sandwich, because it's like my three almost like pillars or life hacks. I don't know really know what else to call them, but like I always say, you know, finding gratitude, taking radical responsibility, and living your happiness. And, you know, it equates to like a heart monitor. You know, you're not every day is going to be the same. I mean, like, especially if you're a parent, it's just like you cannot control the situation. And I have been a huge control freak like most of my life. I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD. I have a little bit of OCD. You know, so you know, for me, I've had to come to like terms with, or I guess like just being more chill about things and not putting so much pressure. And when shit goes awry, like the other day, for instance, like I live up in the mountains, and it was snowing, and we had a power outage, and we have a house generator, but you know, it's not like I can like just go about my day. Like it only powers certain things. And the power's out, kids are both home. It's like, you know, just not like how I was expecting that day to go. And instead of being like, well, this fucking sucks, it's freezing, I'm stressed out, I didn't get to do what I wanted to do today, like, you know, instead of doing that, like taking the time to like kind of flip it around and being present, being like, okay, but I'm grateful that I have a generator. I'm grateful that like my kids are home so I can snuggle them. I'm grateful that, you know, I get to slow down, and I get to kind of be more present instead of trying to like force how I thought my day was supposed to go. And I think if more people can kind of stop, and instead of just like beating themselves up or being pissed that like things didn't go their way, like stopping and finding gratitude and being like, okay, but it could be so much fucking worse. And even when it is like really bad, it's like there's always that silver lining for me. I don't know. It's something that I've had to practice for many, many years. And then on top of that, taking like radical responsibility for not only like my actions and my responses to things, but my thoughts as well. And that plays into like the gratitude part of it. Because, you know, you know, for someone who's like a recovering control freak, taking radical responsibility is taking control, because you don't have control over anyone else, what they say, what they do. You don't even have control over what happens like most of the day, you know, but all you can do is just like roll the punches and just take responsibility. And I think that kind of goes along with what you were saying about like that heart monitor. It's like we have to just ride the rides and like and be okay with that. Because if it was flat, if you were flatline, if you were like everything was the same and like mundane, like I'm pretty sure most people would be like bored out of their mind. And you're not living at that point, because you are flat, you are dead. You are not living.
Yeah. There's that old quote, most die at 25 and get buried at 75 years later.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that coupled with the other quote, you know, most men live lives of quiet desperation. That's my biggest fear for men, for people in general. Right. Like, and it's why I'm so adamant about authenticity and integrity. It's why I'm so adamant about finding the opportunities in the worst situations. Right. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like yesterday, I fucking lost my shit. I legitimately had to take control because I was so angry and just irritable. The dogs are going off, the power's flickering, blah blah blah. And I was trying to leverage my gratitude. And Erinn, you know me, I'm pretty even keeled when it comes to like my gratitude. I don't really like to blame other things, but I do also have those very big highs where I'll get really upset. And that was one of those times. And so I just ordered Chipotle. I was like, I can order Chipotle. I'm grateful to have food. I want Chipotle. I'm going to feed my body. Right. And it calmed me down. It was such a random thing. Like, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter, but it was just one of those things where it's like, it puts a really bad situation back in my control. And so there's this phrase of like, find the opportunity, right? Maybe it's not that, maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's realizing that you couldn't have a power outage without power. You couldn't have,
Yeah.
you couldn't be angry that you couldn't make it out the door if you didn't have a house to get out the door. Like, there's a lot of things that we just need to switch the perspective on that opportunity. And I very much agree with you. Like, a lot of times, and I believe in God, and I believe in the universe, and the way things work out. Sometimes the world just needs you to slow the fuck down.
Yeah. And
Right.
I believe when shit does happen, like when you're at your, like, I guess, breaking point, or at those manic moments, that is the universe, God basically saying, like, you need to slow the fuck down, and you
Yep.
need to be present, and you need to, like, and it's just a simple mindset shift that people practice it more, they would notice that shit wouldn't happen more frequently. At least when I started doing it and Tony started doing it, like, we have noticed that, like, it's only gotten better. Sure, we have our shit days, like, there's things that happen, but when you practice that mindset shift of just, like, slowing down and realize and just being chill about things, not trying to, like, force it and control the situation, like, shit's gonna happen, but you know what? Like, it's okay. It's all gonna work out. Like you said, like, I have to have power in order for the power to go out. Like, that's, I mean, the power is gonna come back on. So, kind of like just being calm and chill about things, and just really trying to control your mind, which is it is a daily practice, and, like, no one's ever gonna master it. But the more you try and practice it, you will notice that your life starts to shift, and your mindset shifts, and things around you shift, and the people around you shift, and it's a whole game changer for
Yeah.
you.
I'd agree. I mean, I'm not a recovering control person. Like, I've never really needed control, but I am a recovering naysayer and negative Nancy and a recovering envy. I used to
Yes.
have so much spite and envy when people succeeded around me. I felt so like woe is me when people did better than me when I was in my early 20s, like late teens, early 20s, especially after the accident with the military. I felt that like, oh, F my life, like, this is so stupid. Of course you got that. Like, my life sucks, right? And from time to time that will creep its head back up. But it's that shift of seeing the opportunity and the gratitude, and again, going back to service, right? Like, I realized that what I was doing was I was maligned to my need to serve. So
Yeah.
when I was being envious, I was robbing myself of the opportunity to serve. And so anytime that starts to creep back up of the woe is me, I take that tailspin down in the darkness into the abyss. I will literally call you or Tony or Tish or Matt or like somebody on my team, and I'm like, I need somebody to serve right now. Like, I need to get myself out of this. I need to be of value. I need to be of usefulness
Yeah.
to somebody in order for me to realize how far I've come, like, and that's sometimes that's what you need. You need to get that support system in there, and really develop that gratitude for that support system, because you guys have been there to pull me out of many, many dark places. Some
Hmm.
of which, and I've admitted this to you guys before, I was embarrassed of how I conducted myself during those times. Now, I don't beat myself up about it. Like, I'm like, that sucked. You shouldn't do that. And when I'm driving and it pops in my head, I just shake my head and laugh, because it was such a strange out of body experience looking back at it, because it was out of character for me. But I did those things, and that is what it is. And I learned from them. But those darkness, that's where I really understood the necessity for community and for people that you can trust. Right. And I was so grateful to have you guys during that time.
Well, and I heard this. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was talking about. I'm probably gonna butcher, because I'm not like you. We can't retain, like, quotes and like that, but
Stop saying that.
I know, I'm just like, I need to get better. But
Go.
there, when he said that, when you're wanting to, like, grow, like, a flower, it starts out as a seed, right? And in order for it to become a flower, it has to first die. It has to be planted into the ground, like, literally buried, and then it breaks down and dies, and then it becomes like a flower, like the roots sprout out. And I feel like when there's hard times in your life, because I mean, I don't know if you've like talked about like, when you were in the military and everything, but like you've gone through a lot, and you basically, like, and myself included, like I've had to like die a few times in order to become like, the rose bush or rose garden that I am now. And I don't know, there's something so beautiful about that, because when you think you're going through really hard shit, which a lot of people, you're going to go through, like, this isn't like, if you're doing good right now, like shit's going to happen. Just, it is, um or maybe not, like, that's just like, I'm a recovering pessimist too. um but you have to know that when you're going through hard times, that just means that, like, you're blossoming into like the flower, like you're becoming the next version of yourself. You are evolving into the next version of yourself, and get fucking excited about it, because like, you're like, okay, shit's hard right now, like I'm at a low. There is a lot of stuff going on, but like, you know what, you have complete control over changing that. And again, that comes back to taking radical responsibility for where you're at right now, and you can change that with like your mindset, what you're doing, the people you're surrounding yourself with, like the habits you have formed. Like, there's things you can do. Like, I don't care where you are at in your life. I care more about like where you're going. Like, where do you want to be? Like, you can be the lowest of low. If like you're in the lowest of low, okay, but where do you want to be? All right, there are action steps. There's are things that you can do to do it, and don't fucking make excuses. Take that responsibility and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then I think that's why I've always had a little bit of a contention with the statement, if you're not growing, you're dying. Right? Like, which, fair enough. Like, there is a certain biological truth to that. But Carl Jung, who's a longtime clinical psychologist, he was very profound in many psychology of today is based on his writings and philosophies. He talks about the figurative death, right? Like, in order for you to actually grow into a new person, you have to kill the version of yourself that
Yep.
used to exist. So the idea that if you're not growing, you're dying is actually backwards. Like, you can't grow without death. Like, you need to kill off the version of yourself that is no longer serving you and become this new version. And so, as a man, especially, men know this very innately, even though we don't talk about it very much. We reinvent ourselves like 5-10 times in a lifespan, right? Whether that's a career change, whether that's becoming a father, whether that's, getting rid of the figurative death of the father, where we move out on our own and everything. There's a lot of deaths that men go through, and I would imagine women do the same thing, right? There's a lot of death that has to happen going from, childhood to teen to adulthood. And where I think as a society we really fail in ushering people in, which is what I'm trying to correct with here as Veritas, is how do we make that death a beautiful transition, not a fearful, scary thing, right?
Yeah.
Because once upon a time we had trials and we had rites of passages and we had rituals in which people would become these great and these epitaphs of growth and amazing legends through these trials, right? And now we shy from them. I just want to sit in my house and scroll and play this victimhood and talk about like how life is sucks and blah 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 blah. It's like it's no longer celebrated and honored. And I think, to bring it back to you, like, I've got to watch a couple of those figurative deaths over the years that I've known you, and it's such a beautiful thing. And I talk about this a lot with just clients and my team and on social media, but it's like the thing that I look for is when the light turns on.
Yeah.
When that spark of genius happens and then they literally light themselves on fire. Because I don't do it. I give fuel and I hand them kerosene and matches and I'm like, listen, you literally have everything you need right now to just go out and fucking torch the world and set shit ablaze and burn brighter than anybody else has ever seen.
Yeah.
But I can't strike that match for you. Go and strike that match. You got the permission. This is what you need, right? And so for me, the thing that gives me goosebumps, the thing that gets me lit up, the thing that fills my cup is watching people go, I can do that. And I go, yes, you can. And they're like, fuck, I can do that. And then the statement changes. The intonation of the statement changes from I can do that to I can do this. I'm going. I got this. I'm burning this shit down. I'm burning brighter. And I've got to watch you do that for yourself a couple times. And it's such a beautiful moment. I challenge anybody that's listening to this. I really do. I don't care if you're a confidence coach or you're the person people come to for wisdom within your circle. Look for that moment, because I will tell you right now, you will never find a more exhilarating and elated moment than being part and partial to that experience while they're there. Even if it's just you know, the gift of presence, you just being there. Because like I've talked with Erinn and her husband many times, and a lot of times to outside people, they might be like, oh, he's just whining or complaining or whatever. I think through talking. And so oftentimes all they're doing is they're a soundboard for me, where I can just run my thoughts out of the loop that's in my brain, so that they can go, yeah, that kind of sounds stupid, or that kind of sounds good, or you aren't wrong, or whatever, right? It gives me that ability to take away the single loop track that's in my head. And I know they've seen me have those moments of like, oh, fuck. Okay, I see what I fucked up. I know what I got to go do, and I go do it. And it's such a powerful moment, because I've been there for other people. I know people in my life, in my circle, like yourself and your husband, that have done that for me. I don't know if there's anything more fulfilling. I really don't, than to watch somebody catch the fire of genius for themselves, to be present for that moment.
I mean, it's a gift. I mean, if you really think about it, it's one of the many gifts that life has to offer, you know? And that's why I think like being a service and doing what we do is because we really truly love like helping people in our own sick, probably, you know, selfish way, like, you know, being there for someone and helping them, like it's kind of like fuck yeah, like it gets to, like, I don't know about you, but like I get like a high after I've like when that happens, and I'm just like I feel like I can go like lift 1,000 pounds, like I want to go run a marathon because, you know. And so selfishly, like I love that when I see that like in someone, because I'm just like it's not that I did it, like they had to fucking break themselves down and had to go through all that, but like it's just it's awesome being able to be there and help be a sounding board, you know, have some tools that I've acquired over the years, and just be like here you go. And like I'm just here to like kind of like a mom in a sense. Like I mean, I'm teaching my daughter how to ride without training wheels, and my husband did it the first time, and I did it today. And today, like don't tell my husband, but like she was like riding her bike second time, and I'm like I don't know if it's because like he helped her the first time, or if it's because like I was doing it today, but it's kind of like being a mom in a sense. And to people and to clients, or just, you know, friends, family, or whatever, when you're able to kind of like help nurture and be loving and compassionate and being a soundboard, and here's the tools. And also I'm learning as well, like when I'm working with someone, I'm learning to quiet my ego and to be more patient and kind, and learning what they need and how they need it, and you know, just kind of helping them along the way. So when they finally do have that aha moment, that light bulb, or you know, like my daughter like finally just taking off and like riding, I'm just like fuck, I'm so elated. Like it's just it's the best feeling in the entire world, and it's like the gift that I want to keep on giving. And that's why I'm so grateful that I get to do this for a living.
Yeah. And
You know?
I think you mentioned it's kind of selfish. It is a little bit, but I think the thing that really always struck me as very important to note is like it's delayed gratification at the grandest level.
Yeah.
Because I could help somebody 6 years ago, I could help somebody 10 years ago. I've been a coach for almost a decade. And I didn't know if what I said helped them, hindered them, made them happy. But what I know is I approached it from a place of service, compassion, and know that I gave them everything of me with no expectation of return, right? That's the
Yeah.
part that I
Yeah.
want to make note. Like I give, like, because you need to hear something from somebody. Now, as a living, right? Like that's what we do for a living. It can sometimes feel a little disingenuine, right? It's like, oh, I'm asking you to pay. And what I've learned is like people don't change if they're not vested. And financial investments are probably one of the number one ways to get people off the couch and into the game and actually working. So that's how I kind of justify it with myself. But my team is constantly yelling at me because I will give the shirt off my back to help somebody. And they're like, dude, this is our business. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not wired for business. I'm wired for helping. Like, I need you to let me help people, you know? And so that delayed gratification piece is the part that always really serves me, right? Like like one of my team members recently on our team call was just like, I just want you to know that there are things happening in my life. And they teared up and they were very happy. And they were like, you have changed my life. I am on a whole nother direct trajectory. I had no idea that they felt like that. I had no idea that was happening in their life. And they associated with the conversation we had. I had no idea. I just served. I served in that moment, and I didn't want anything back. I just wanted to serve them, and I gave them that. And to find out a month later, a couple weeks later, whatever it is, 10 years later, they come back and they're like, you know, if you hadn't done this stuff for me, I wouldn't be where I'm at. That's the moment for me where I'm like, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
I'm on the right path because I didn't need anything from them. I just wanted to serve. And that's why being a confidence coach, a self-respect coach, a coach in any capacity, really,
Yeah.
unless you're doing it from only monetary, is such a rewarding and fulfilling space because you don't really know if what you're going to say hits home or if they're going to take it and run with it. But when they do, right, I often hear things like, I want to run through a wall. That's like the number one thing I do really well is I make people want to just fucking get up and just go to war. Like that was like everybody's like, dude, you're fucking intense. I love it. Let's fucking go. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of my strength, right? Is I make people realize that fire can be lit and then they just want to go, right? And when I hear those things, because I don't think about it in the moment, I'm just like, you need to hear these things. And I oftentimes talk about being a conduit where like I don't even know where it comes from. I just know you need to hear these things and I spit it at you and you receive it the way you need to receive it. When they come back and they tell me what it did for them, that's the moment where I'm like, I'm on the right path. And like
Yeah.
you said, I'm aligned now.
Yeah.
You just fall in play and it's just easy. It's just this is where I belong.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what it is like, for me, really, like fully becoming the coach that I am, the signs were there. I mean, like I was told like multiple times because I would always be there for the people or I might have said something and I was getting people hitting up like all the time telling me like thank you so much for saying that or being there for me, whatever. And I never really like paid attention, and then I was like, oh fuck, like this is like what I'm supposed to be doing, like this is my purpose on life. If you ever want to like find out what your purpose is, think about like what are you good at, what do people come to you for, and put the pieces together. I mean, that's for me. I mean, that's like, that's what it was. And I mean, it took me a long time to like really realize this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I have never like once felt like when I was doing like network marketing and any of the careers I've had, I've always felt um like a sense of I'm not doing enough, or am I doing enough, and is it gonna fail, and or I need to be like pushing myself more. I just felt very unaligned, like very like uneasy all the time. And when it came down to like finding my purpose and like being a confidence coach, it has been so effortless and
It's just
freeing.
authenticity. It's just
Yeah.
authenticity. It doesn't
Yeah. And I
and
think,
to
well,
articulate what you're talking about, it almost feels like everything else was you have to learn it. So
yeah.
you felt like you don't know enough. You never feel like you can learn enough, you can be skilled enough, you can be capable enough. And so that's where the doubt comes from. And then you get into this place where you're coaching is like, you can take everything from me tomorrow and you can't take that. I
Yeah.
don't need to learn it. I know how to do it. It's just
We
natural for me. I can connect with people. That's it just I'm always going to be learning. I'm not saying just fucking sit on your laurels and be like, I'm as good as I'm going to get. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying at all. But at the same time, there is this ease to it, this spiritual shift where you're like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I
Yeah.
can learn or I can't learn, but I know I can do this.
Well, and I think also like if someone's trying to change or finding their purpose or whatever it may be, you could be doing the same thing every single day, or like it could be in your face every single day, or you read the same book or you listen to the same podcast or whatever it is, until it clicks, you're just going to be kind of like running around in circles. But I think, in order to find that alignment, you have to like let go and just allow it to happen, but really fucking listen, because I feel like a lot of times when people are wanting to make changes in their lives, they'll be like complaining about something, or they want to become more confident, or they want to become a better version of themselves or whatever, and yet they still make so many excuses, or they still are trying to replay the same story they've been telling, or doing the same thing. You can't become a better person, you can't become a different person if you aren't making the changes and taking responsibility. I mean, it's kind of like all comes back to the same. So it all comes back to taking radical responsibility and not making excuses, and stop listening or doing the same shit on repeat. If you want change, you have to be the change. I mean, it's fucking simple. I mean, and it's frustrating. I mean, I don't regret it, because obviously it was my journey, but I think about, like, when you and I first met, I'm like, fuck, it took me so long to like just figure it out. And like, yeah, now I have this like sense of ease, and everything's kind of just like flowing, which is great. But like, God, it's just like, I honestly, like, my spirit guys were probably like, they're probably exhausted, because they would tell me the same shit in like a different way every freaking day, and I didn't ignore them because I wanted to still be that victim. I still wanted to be like, oh, what was me, or like my life is hard, or I can never be that person because they have this, or whatever. And it's like, dude, like, you literally, you won, because like, you are here, there's only one of you. Do something with it, whatever that is, and whatever makes you happy, like, but be fucking happy and be grateful and take responsibility. I mean, everyone's different, everyone has different journeys, but I just, I think the hardest part for me as a coach is seeing the potential that I see in clients and friends and family, and it's like, I just want to shake them, because I'm like, you are an incredible human being. Like, you literally, like, there is only one of you, and you're wasting your life by making excuses and not being the best version of yourself. And
It
it's
is
really
the
fucking
most
simple.
difficult thing. It is the
It's
most difficult thing because
Yeah.
like you said, you want so much for them, and you feel like it's right there. And even at times, like I had with you when we get into it, right?
Yeah.
You'd
You get
glaze
so
over it, right? You glaze over it because there's no way it could be that simple, right? Like there's no way, not me, not with my flaws, not with my problems, not with my issues and my excuses. There's
you're
no
not
way I could
special.
have that. And you're just
No.
like, nobody sees that but you.
Yeah.
Nobody sees that but you. You're the only one bringing that up. Like, just stop. It's very difficult. And the thing about being a coach, and this would be, I know you've coached for a long time, but you're just getting into it from a professional side and like charging for it and taking and interviewing people. One of the things that was very, very difficult for me is realizing not everybody's ready for me.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
right.
I can
Right.
help anybody if they're ready to listen.
Yeah.
Because it is that simple. It's not easy,
Yeah.
but it is that simple.
Mhm.
There's a very simple, consistent mechanism that every confidence coach, every self-respect coach will tell you is the way to get it. They might have a different flavor, but it's all pretty much the same simple steps. It's just very difficult because there's a lot of deaths that have to happen. Death of your ego, death of your excuses, death of your blame, death of your victimhood. There's so many deaths that have to happen before you're ready to take on a coach and say, do as you will, bring me to my purpose, which we don't do that, right? That's the misconception. We don't bring you to purpose. You become ready for your purpose. And then, that's that old thing. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Like, that's how coaching works. And so in the last decade, the hardest lesson I had to learn is, I know I can help you, but I tried to force the timing.
Yeah.
Because I felt, I see it, I know it, I can grab it, I can touch it. I know I can get you to that point. And when we talk, maybe I can get you to see it too, because I'm good at pulling out your strengths. But then once we leave, once we disconnect, once it's on you to take responsibility, you're not ready to do that. And so getting to that point of like, hey man, when you're ready, I'll be here.
Yeah.
And knowing what that looks like for me and who works for me and who doesn't work for me as far as like a good client.
Yeah.
The worst thing that I can do is take money from somebody I know I can't serve because they're not ready for the service.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm working with right now a male client, which is not within my realm, because I specialize in helping women. But I have realized I've had to kind of take a step back a little bit because I'm just like, you are not ready. And if anyone's listening, like whoever's going to listen to this, like, and maybe want to hire me, like, I am very much like Tim. I am a no bullshit. Like, yes, I am soft and I'm very feminine, and but I'm also like, I don't fucking do excuses. I'm here to like, you're paying me to help you. Like, you're paying me to like, you want to become whatever it is. Okay. Well, so it's hard though. It is hard to like, kind of like, you're not ready for the next step. Like, but this is what you can do. And when you're ready, like, I kind of think of it too as like, with humans, like you think when we're born, we're so innocent and like we have everything, like we don't know, we're so blind. Like I watch my daughters and they're just so innocent and they haven't been fucked up by the world yet. And I always say, like, I joke about it, but it's true. Like, I'm gonna traumatize them somehow. Everyone has trauma, right? Everyone has like childhood trauma and shit they have to heal from.
Do they have
But
trauma or do they have life experiences that they've now lived
yeah,
as
I know,
trauma?
right? Yeah. So, but I look at them and I'm like, they have, like, I learned so much from them because they haven't experienced like all the what the world puts on us, like especially when it comes to being a woman and society standards and all and whatnot. But everyone has like what it is that you want to be or what it is that you want to do. You already have it in you. You had it at birth. You just forgot about it, or you got, I guess, somewhat brainwashed along the way. And now it's like we just have to kind of undo those things and relearn things and yeah, like have those deaths in order to become the person that you were always meant to be.
Yeah, I
You
agree
know?
with that 100%. I think there's a process, right? Before you get to
Mhm.
your first major death, which is when you turn 18 and you move out
Yeah.
from your parents and you become your own person, right? That's the first figurative death that humans generally go through, right? The leaving the nest,
Yeah.
proverbial leaving of the nest. And in today's world, we don't do that anymore. The average person stays at home till they're in their 30s. And that's one thing I'm very grateful of my life is I turned 17, joined the Marine Corps, left, got hurt, came back, was back in my parents' house while I healed, and then I was out. I got a
Yeah.
job and I was out. I never wanted to live with my parents again. And I told them that. I was like, I love you guys, but all due respect, I'm my own person. I'm not arguing alpha male garbage in this house because I want a different set of rules. Out of respect for my father, I'll respect his rules, but I want my own rules.
Yeah.
And as you go through that process of that first death, you get the worldview of your parents, you get the obedience training, which I think is necessary. You need boundaries.
Mhm.
And then when you turn 18, we don't have those rites of passage to be like, okay, you're a man, here's how you lead. Hey, you're a woman, this is how you become a mother, this is how you make your way in the world. We don't do that anymore.
I didn't know shit.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. We just kind of like throw our hands up and we're just like, all right, enjoy it. And back in the day, right? Like I'm gonna get on a tangent here, but back in the day, that was a tribal experience,
Yeah.
right? You knew 150 people. You couldn't go more than 100 miles because otherwise you couldn't see your house and you got fucking lost. We didn't have compasses. We might have had an astrolabe. We didn't really understand how travel and navigation works. So back in the day, it was like, this is your lot in life and this is all you get to choose. Now we are kind of, we're spoiled with choice. But with that, we also were like, choices got bigger, pathways got more varied, and yet we became less interested in giving our children the tools to become functioning, working, useful adults who enjoy and fulfill their lives. That's weird to me. That seems backwards. Like if you're going to give me more choices, then you should become more intentional about how do you pick a choice? How do you become intentional about that choice? How do you discover your purpose, right?
Yeah.
And then with, you know, social media and all that stuff and Amazon, we're like very impatient. So we get into
Yes.
a company and we test out one company, we test out one job, we test out one skill set, and we're there for 3 months and we're like, man, I'm not feeling fulfilled anymore. It's been
Yeah.
3 months. You don't even know the job yet.
Yeah. I will say that kind of piggyback on that, just because like I have had many different, I've dabbled.
Mhm.
And I had guilt about that, like for a long time, about like, and my gracious husband, just like, I hate the word used to me allowing, but like we are a team. So anyone's listening, we are a team. And same goes for like, we communicate on those
You
levels. So
should
I have to
start
be
saying
like,
afford.
huh?
You should start saying
Afford. I
afforded
know,
to,
afford, I know, afford, I know. And
because
like,
it's a lot better than allowed, because it's not a permission slip.
I
It's
know
just
it's
he's
like,
created a system.
it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Um, but I think from someone who has dabbled, I had a lot of guilt about dabbling. And now I look back as like, it was just stepping stones to become the person that I am today. And anyone who is listening that has like guilt for trying new things, going work for a company, I do not want to say like, just give up like with after 3 months, you have to like stick with it and everything. But when it does get to a certain point where you're like, hey, this doesn't align with me, don't just stop. Like you gotta set up something, like set up the next, let's say you hate your job. Okay, well, don't just fucking quit your job. Like, have something lined up. So I'm not saying that, but also enjoying the journey, you know, when you're trying to like figure out your shit and figuring out who you are. Like, don't have guilt for like trying a lot of things and, made some of the choices that you've made. Like, it is a journey to get to where you want to go. And I think about that, like especially like the Gen Z or Gen X. I can't keep track of. I mean, I'm a millennial, so I
Humans
don't
are
know.
humans. I don't really give a shit about generations.
Like, I don't know. But I think about I have younger siblings and I look at like some of the things that they've done, and you know it, the one thing I have learned from them is that they don't have a lot of guilt about jumping and trying to figure themselves out, which is, I think, is kind of something, there's something beautiful about that. Whereas me, I'm like, I mean, I have a little bit of like anxiety about it, but I've learned to like enjoy like the journey of self-discovery and figuring out where I'm supposed to be going. Um, I don't really know where I was going with that, but I just like,
But I think I think I know where you're going with that. And I think it's very critical, right? Like everybody's going to be different. So maybe 3 months is enough time for you to realize this ain't for me. I'm going to go find something else.
yeah,
Maybe it's 8 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, and then you get bored and you go find something else, right? Like
yeah,
in my company, I've been grateful because I have had the opportunity to hold like 12 big time career where I've learned massive amounts of skill sets, and I've held those careers for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Now the latest one previous to this was about 8 years, and now I've been on this current career path with my day job for 2 years, and it's afforded me this opportunity to be in an environment where I can try and test and do different things, but I don't have to feel locked into a specific position, right? And so
yeah,
that journey is very critical. And I'm always torn because a lot of people say enjoy the journey, but if you enjoy the journey too much, you get stuck, in which case that might be your purpose, right? But if you don't enjoy the journey enough, you never pick, right? Or vice versa. Sorry. If you
yeah.
don't
And I
enjoy
would
the journey, you get stuck. But if you enjoy a journey too much, then you're just hopping around.
totally. I think a lot of people, I mean, because the area that we're in, I think a lot of people, they get really impatient. They're like, well, I just want to become whatever it is they're wanting to be, like I want to be like a pro athlete right now. It's like, well, you have to fucking put in the hours, you have to do all the things to get there. So enjoy it. Like, don't stress out about it. Like, it's going, like, if you like, you're going to get to point Z, but you're at point A, just trust the process and enjoy it, and don't stress yourself out and like wondering if it's going to happen. Like, just believe it's going to happen. If you're meant to do that. And then that's the thing, is like, let's say you get to like M and you're like, shit, like that's actually, I don't want to get to Z, like I want to get to like something else now, and you go down another path. Like, that's okay. Like, it's okay.
I think
it's
that's a
it's
great analogy.
ultimately getting you to where you need to be, where your life purpose, or where you're supposed to be in life.
I think
And
that's a
like,
great
you're
analogy. That's a
always
great
evolving.
analogy. Sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, we're always evolving. We're always becoming like the next best version of ourselves, and that's okay. Like, change is okay. And that's what I mean by like enjoying the journey, because I think a lot of people get so stressed out about, well, what if I don't get there, or what if it's like not what I anticipate. Like, a lot of people, like kids going to college. Like, I didn't go to college. I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of did. I took like a semester, but and I just realized it wasn't for me, and that's okay. And if my daughters are the same way, that they're just like, it's not for me, that's okay. But I think a lot of like, I'm not even kidding you. the majority of the people that I graduated with are not doing what they went to college for. And that's a journey, right? You go to college, like you to become a doctor or whatever, and like sometimes like you just figure out like that's not for me because something else came along or something else happened. And my biggest thing is like too is like just don't look back at your life and what you've done and have any regrets because it has made you the person you are today, better or for worse.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be some silver lining. There's always going to be something good in your life. Like there is something good about you. Even if you have a shit life now, it's like, well, you got yourself here, but there's always good in somewhere along the way. And, I hope that, when you are on your journey, whatever it may be, that you pay attention and you listen and you do the things that feel right, with your
I think that's the lesson, right? Like you mentioned, whatever the generations are and their different approaches to thing, right?
yeah,
Like our generation was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you have to pick, and then you get into it by your 18 and you should stick to it until you die, right? Like that was kind of the narrative we got.
yeah,
And now you have this newer generation that's like, I don't want to do something I hate till I die, so I'm just going to dabble forever. And I think
hmm
the expectation is different. And I've heard this from a number of people. Well, like they try and do 15 different jobs all in 1 year and they're bouncing around, but then they want to get the pay of the person who's been in the job for 15 years. It's like, well, if you want that, you need to be willing to be patient enough to put the time and the effort in. If it's not working for you, don't be mad that you didn't get the pay because you jumped to a different ship, right? Like if I'm on a ship that's on its way to Alaska, and halfway across I jump on a ship to go back to Hawaii, and then I get pissed because I'm not to Alaska yet. Well, you jump ship, it changed the course. And that's the thing, right? Like 100%. If you don't feel like you're where you're supposed to be, dabble, but don't expect to make the riches and hit the fame and the glory and the honorable position because you jump ship. You just started over. You chose to start over. That's your option. And you should do that. If you feel you're in the wrong place, go and do that. But once you
yeah,
find that place, whether that's I want to be a pro star and that's all I care about, I want to be a YouTuber or whatever, then sink your teeth into that and get on
yeah,
that and go until whatever plan you get to, right? I like to tell my clients there's no right or wrong path, there's only the path. It twists and turns, but eventually it's going to get you to wherever you're supposed to be. Right? Now you get to dictate what that path is, but it's only one path. It's your path through life. So there's no reason to regret the dead ends and the crossroads and the things and the choices you made because you took the path. Stay the
yeah,
path. And so there's that lesson in there is like, whether you're an older generation who got this narrative that you need to just work till you die and be miserable, that's bullshit. Or you're the newer generation where you believe you should be dabbling, but you also believe you should be getting paid as much as the guy who stayed.
yeah.
That's bullshit. What we
Well,
need to do is find what you like, then have a realistic expectation of how much time, energy, and input you're going to have to put into that to reach whatever that is, right? I can leave my job right now. I've been in my job for close to 15 years, my day job. I love my day job. I love my boss. And so like for that, like that's my thing. I love doing that because I can do that and I can build my business.
yeah,
Right? Now, if I leave that 15-year job because I'm like, this is stupid, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, I want to be a game designer because I like video games. I'm going to be a game designer, right?
yeah,
I cannot expect to get my salary of 15 years leaving and going entry-level game designer position. It's not realistic. They're going to look at me like I'm fucking crazy.
yeah,
I'm paid for my title based on the experience I bring to the title. I'm not paid for Tim Base. Tim Base doesn't carry weight. My title carries weight. The same way that as a CEO, my team may look at me and go, hey, CEO, you're going to take all the risk and help us get to this wonderful and amazing place. And so we're going to afford you these perks for you being a CEO.
yeah,
And Base doesn't deserve those perks. The CEO deserves those perks if he honors the title. The minute I disrespect the title, I no longer steward my people properly, no longer honor my people. I no longer treat my people with respect, kindness, and dignity. Those perks are forfeited. They're gone. And I think that there's this place now where, like, because we are running from this idea that you're going to work till you die, right? So now we're conflating these two spaces. I want to get paid a 6-figure salary, but I want to jump from job to job to job to job, doing different things with different experiences because I don't know what I want, but I still want to keep the existing pay that I had.
yeah.
Well, you just started a marathon over at mile 1 every time.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, to kind of piggyback on that, you know, if you've been at like a job or anything you're trying to work towards and you're wanting like a title or a pay raise or whatever, and you've been there for a while and you're just expecting it, like, again, if you haven't done the work or gone above that to like earn that, then don't be disappointed. Like you have to put in like the work. And I like to think of like the uh the turtle and the hare,
I was thinking the
you
same
know.
thing.
Yeah. So we might have listened to the recent same podcast because it's like kind of like what I'm like thinking about. But you know, slow and steady wins the race. And if you're trying to rush, well, here's the thing. If you're the hare, slow and steady wins the race, right? Like you're or not the hare, the turtle. And that's okay because like you're putting in the time and you're taking your time, you're being patient. That's okay, but you're putting in the fucking work. You're still moving, right? You got to still keep going. And so when you do get to the end, like, you know, like, okay, I deserve this. But if you're the hare and you're trying to rush, that's also okay because, you know, you're trying to like, you know, hurry up or whatever because you're determined, but don't be sloppy and do it right, you
Yeah.
know? So I think I don't know, I look at that like analogy and I'm like, when it comes to like business or bettering yourself, there's no right or wrong way to do things. And again, it all comes back to like what I believe in is being aligned with yourself and what that feels like and listening to your intuition and whatnot. I'll get all woo woo on you. But
Be authentic,
there's,
Erinn. I don't care if you're woo with me. You know
yeah,
that.
but there's, you know, there's not a right or wrong way. So it's like, if you want to go fast, do it fast, but do it fucking right. So when you get to the end, like, you know that you earned it. And if you go slow and you're patient, like it just depends on like your approach. But like at the end, when you get to the end, like just know like, okay, I did the work and I did it right. And I
Yeah.
do deserve this.
Yeah. I
You know?
coming back to that statement of like the turtle and the hare, one thing that's always resonated with me is this. Somebody was explaining that same story, which is why I think I thought of it. I don't know if it's the same podcast, but they said consistency starts you, builds it, persistency keeps it. So the idea behind this is like you could be consistent when you're going fast, right? Like until you get tired, you get busy, a storm happens, life kicks you in the teeth, right? That's where consistency changes over to persistency.
Yeah.
Consistency is when you can just do it over and over and over and over and over and over again, fast, slow, whatever. That's the steady side of it. But if you're not going to be persistent, then you're going to end up like the hare. Well, I could take a break, right? I've been
Yeah.
consistent long enough. I deserve this, right? Like this is a mechanism that a lot of people have, myself included, for a long time. Is like, I earned this. I get to take a break now, so I'm going to sit here and rest. Well, there's this other person who doesn't have that mindset, who's just persistent. I hit mud holes and I broke a nail and I had these problems and my shoes ran a flat and I'm soaking wet and I fell down and scraped my knee, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going. Well,
Yeah.
because you think you earned a rest, that person right passes by you. So it's a combination of that fast, slow, but it's about, are you consistent enough and can you persist at that consistency long enough to achieve whatever that goal is? I don't know what it is for you. Everybody's going to have a different goal and a different speed, but that consistency and persistency is really critical mindset shift that I had in building heroes.
Yeah.
Like my team, I have a really skewed sense of time because I think really fast. I tell people this all the time. I wake up, I give my woman a kiss, and then I'm on heroes. Like that's my day. Like I wake up and I'm on heroes. I'm ready to go. Let's talk heroes. Let's talk clients. Let's connect. How do we build the ranch? How do we build it? Right? I'm going all the time. So I may think we've been at this for 10 years because my brain is going and I'm working. And my team goes, dude, we just started this part of it in September.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we built an app in 3 months. And they're like, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Well,
okay.
I want to say something real quick about that because like consistency builds momentum. And if you aren't consistent with your habits, with your mindset, like with everything, when you're trying to better yourself, or I mean, if you aren't consistent with anything in your life, but you expect momentum just to like happen, you know, or that motivation to just like happen, like no, you have to be consistent in whatever it is, whatever you're trying to accomplish, because if you're not getting that momentum and that motivation, is going to be really fucking hard. So being consistent is slow and steady, whether, it is like the tortoise. But I think also like with the hair as well, because I mean, like, I don't know. We can really dive deep into like that analogy, but I really believe that consistency breeds, motivation and momentum
Yeah,
personally.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's a great place to leave it because we've been talking a while and I want to be respectful of your
Yeah.
time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I see what time it was.
Yeah. And if you notice, we kind of ADHD'd through this conversation. This is why with us is awesome, because we can talk about very deep stuff, very shallow stuff. We can go the gambit and it's a lot of fun. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast. I'm really excited for your journey as a confidence coach. As I told you, when you told me you were going to do this, this is exactly where you deserve to be and should. And you've been kind of touching on it for a long time. And it's good to see you finally solidify your space in
Thank you.
I already told you, I think you're going to blow me out of the water as far as, business success side of confidence coaching, because you are a beacon, right? Like people gravitate towards you. I scare people. I'm known as intense. So that to me, coupled with your persistence and consistency, your personality, I think you're just going to absolutely thrive in this space. And I can't wait to see how successful you really become.
Thank you.
Next Mel Robbins,
Maybe. Let's hope so. I'll be like the hot mess. No, well, she's kind of a hot mess in all the good ways. I love her. Absolutely love her.
I don't know anybody that hasn't or isn't a hot mess that is any fun to be around anyway. So that's just my thing. Like, I don't really, I've talked with Marcus Torgerson. He's been on the podcast a couple times. I have a hard time relating with people that haven't gotten messes in their life or aren't currently going through a mess because you lack weight and depth.
We can be friends, or like people who haven't gone through. Like, we can be friends once you go through your hot mess. Call me.
I'll be here for your hot mess, right? Like, because then you have depth and weight to talk to me. Otherwise, it's just a very shallow interaction. It's very difficult to connect with people who their biggest hurdle has been, mom and dad kicked me out of the house and I don't know what to do, right? Like, you haven't even gone and experienced life yet. You haven't developed yourself into an adult, right? I had this conversation recently. Like, adulthood isn't based on age, right? Like, to be a respected adult, you have to go do adult things, struggle with the bills, have a place to stay, set yourself up, and so that depth and weight comes from experience. And if you don't have that, it's hard. I'm not saying that it makes you a bad person. I don't want that to come off it. You might be a phenomenal human being, a great human being, but you're going to lack the breadth of experience for me to have a connection with you, so that, because I'm going to say something and you'll be like, well, that's weird. And I'm just going to be like, okay, well, then you've never had to not pay bills before, and that's weird. We're just going to have a mismatch. So thank you again, Erinn. Again, we're going to be out there this Saturday. This airs after, so I don't know why I bring it up, but I'm just really excited for this Saturday. I've had a couple texts already while we've been on this call asking me about this Saturday. So I'm really excited for that. If you can make it out, if you're in the area, please make sure to check it out. If you miss this one, we're going to be having a lot of others. But in order, Erinn, could you share where they can find you? I would love to make sure that they have your information here, and then I'll put it in the description as well.
Yeah, I am on Instagram, Beacon Confidence Coaching, and also TikTok. My handle is just Erinn.in.Montoya. So yeah, those are like the two places as of right now. I said, like, my podcast is going to be coming out soon, so I'm really excited about that, and it also will be called Beacon Confidence. But those are the places you can find me.
Fantastic. I love it. Yeah. Once you have that podcast up, I'd like to have you back on and we can talk about what that looked like.
Yeah.
It's an experience in itself, right? Like, I have a lot of people that are like, I want to start a podcast and I don't know what to do. So it'll be cool to have, as you're going through it or just out of it, have your opinion of like what it was like, what you had to give up, what you had to recalibrate, right? So
yeah. I'm excited. Yeah.
Plus, by that point, you'll have your like 200th client or something, and so you'll be off to the races. So thank you again. Again, if you guys like what we do here, our job here is to help you develop sovereignty. We like having fun and enjoying fulfilling lives, wringing every drop out of life that we can. And so our member portal is up. If you want to be part of this community, Erinn's in the community. She's been an absolute beacon, not to be too kitschy here, but in the portal, she's offered her support on many occasions. And we look forward to our continued partnership with her as she builds out her confidence coaching. And we'll catch you next time on the Heroes Veritas podcast.
Your spirit.